Let's go.
Welcome back to the Superman podcast. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Lionel O'Malley. Welcome, Lionel. What's been happening, mate?
Thanks, Maddie. Plenty's happening in the world of purpose planning at the moment, mate. We're here, there, and everywhere, going around the country at the moment, seeing clients, catching up with people.
End of
Catch
financial year,
End
keeping
of
you busy?
financial year, yeah, 100%. It's keeping us well busy at the moment. Just making sure we're giving everyone a bit of a push to push money into the most tax effective environment for their retirement funds, reducing tax, boosting up funds into retirement. Doing a few little bit of recontribution strategies as well, saving a bit of
Just
tax
feel
on the
like
estate.
Superman at the moment, don't we? How much we're
Yeah,
talking about super the last couple
exactly.
of weeks.
I just should tag myself with a cape and I'll be sweet. So, Matty, what's in store for today? I think where we will go with this podcast today is just to reintroduce to the community really about a new guy that's on the block. Well, he hasn't been on the block, but he just hasn't been advertised really. That person is called Mr. TPD, named by myself. But it's good. It's all Mr. TPD has come out of dealing with a lot of TPD cases and helping a lot of those clients in that area, and it specifically became like technically the expert in this area from my point of view, and that is Matt McCabe on the other side of the podcast. Has become a real backbone for a lot of these TPD clients to help them navigate through this really sensitive time, Matt. So, yeah, Matt, we're going to briefly dive into the TPD side of things, of TPD payouts. But today we're going to be digging into something that's real, raw, and frankly, it's heartbreaking, mate. Matt McCabe, who's seen the worst and is fighting to make it better. So, Matty, tell us, what is TPD?
TPD is total and permanent disablement, Lionel. So if someone's incapacitated, medically retired, whether that's mentally or physically. Then there's insurance payouts that they may be entitled to, workers' compensation that's happened at work, and then other benefits that come with superannuation and also Centrelink over the top. So it can be a complex beast, Lionel.
Yeah.
I don't know whether a lawyer has set this system up because it's damn complex, mate. It took me a while to get my head around it, but I think we're up to number 15 or 16 this year that we've done.
Yeah, wow.
And all of ours have been for mental capacity stuff. So
Yeah.
we're talking traumas, PTSD, stress, anxiety.
And,
Um,
and to be honest, it's a pretty common thing that comes across these days. You always hear of something having some sort of TPD environment, TPD situation, or something that's sort of pushed them over the edge that sort of says, "No, I can't do this thing again." Or it's been a significant injury or illness, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Mentally, the mental side of thing is one of the bigger causes for this, I'd imagine, or the biggest claimed area. Would that
Yep.
be
And we're
right?
seeing that both in workers' comp.
Yeah.
So state government's just come out in the last couple of weeks, Lionel, and said
Yeah.
they're going to change the system of
Yeah,
workers'
I think
compensation.
we should dig into that a little bit deeper. But
Yeah.
why don't we just go back right back from the start, Matty, and just say
Yeah, mate.
what pushed you into step into this space and go all in and earn your name as Mr. TPD?
Yeah. It was kind of through chance, really, that I got referred a client that was in this space, and they were screaming out for help, and they said no one else will touch me, help me. It's all too hard for people. So I've seen two other financial planners, and they've said no, can't help you. Go see a lawyer, type of thing.
Yeah,
So that's kind of where it all started, mate. But I saw this space where these vulnerable Australians are getting screwed. Um,
yeah. And
not
that is
all,
the case, but because
yeah,
like the case of where a lot of people go to is they actually get referred and go and get lawyers to help them with this whole process. Now, we know as lawyers, they charge by the second.
yep,
They charge by the second on this stuff, and they charge you for a lot of different stuff. So so for example, if a person was to go to a lawyer and have a TPD claim
yep.
processed for them, what could they expect?
Normally they say no win, no fee. That's their classic line,
Yeah.
which always means they're going to charge you more. In my experience from the contracts I've seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're starting from 25 grand a claim.
Yeah. Wow.
So that form though, Lionel, the client has to fill in most of it because the lawyer doesn't know their injury. They don't know their doctors. They don't know any of the details on what's happened.
Yeah.
The client physically fills in all the paperwork and the lawyer just submits it.
Yeah. Wow. So they're just bring the app. They're just submitting the form technically on their behalf, just checking it all. And what would a lawyer typically charge for that?
Yeah, they're up around 25 grand plus, mate.
What for a
So,
form?
for that form.
You're
Yep,
joking.
yep, yep.
Wow, that is crazy.
So, and on our side of things, mate, we're looking at 3 to 5 grand for financial planners.
Yeah.
That's what we normally charge for a whole process. But on that side of things, Lionel, we actually sometimes get that feedback from the insurance company. There's a financial planning fee in some of these insurance claims
Oh, there is too,
where
isn't there?
where we can actually get paid by the insurance provider rather
Yeah.
than from the
Wow.
client. So
Yeah.
there's all these little bits and pieces that you see people just tripping over where
Yeah.
lawyers are all over the radio, all over TV and the internet. And I understand why. At 25 grand a pop, Lionel.
Yeah. For filling out a bloody form. Jeez, come on.
Mate, I wouldn't be able to sleep right at night if I was
Yeah.
charging that much, mate.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest. And
Yeah.
then, so yeah, that's
So,
kind of where it started, mate. Just seeing people
yes.
getting taken advantage of.
So was there a specific moment that sort of triggered you and said, man, I've got to do more here?
It was the first client that I had by chance, got referred to me. I looked at how complex it was and what lawyers were doing and what lawyers were missing and kind of the
Yeah.
big gap in the market, right?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I was like, these people are getting screwed not only from the fee perspective, but also tax on the other side. Big super funds aren't
So,
paying them out quickly, Lionel.
yeah. So let's just give us an example. A client come to you and said, oh, I've got TPD inside my super account.
Yep.
All right. And it's worth six
Uh,
hundred thousand
Yep.
dollars. Or do you want to use $1 million so it's easier to
No, 600
use
is
six
probably
hundred thousand?
reasonable. Yep.
That's pretty much the standard, I'd imagine, that a
It
lot of
is
people would come
five,
to.
600.
Yeah. So if they come to
Yep.
you with a six, if anyone out there as well that listens to the podcast or has friends or family that are like, shit, my friend's got a TPD payout. This is the process that they could understand that a lawyer will take them through.
Yep.
So they come to them, they got this claim event where they're never going to work ever again.
Yep.
And they go to a lawyer and say, Mr. Lawyer, can you help me out? I've got a TPD claim. I've got a TPD policy. How do we go through the whole process?
So it varies. If it's a big
Yeah.
super fund,
Yeah.
cool. If you've got a big super fund, normally there's a whole lot of forms, mate. There's a shitload of forms that they've got to fill in.
Yeah.
One for the super fund to meet the SIS Act, and two for the insurance or the reinsurer to claim the actual policy.
Yeah.
So, in actual fact, what they need is two independent doctors to say, yes, they are incapacitated and they will never return to work. Having those two doctors say that meets both the insurance policy side of things and also the SIS Act side of things, which is superannuation. So that's the starting point. And then all the evidence to back that up. That's
Yeah.
the starting point.
And then from there, what are they? They're just processing the whole application for it, I'd imagine. And it usually
So
takes a fair bit
yeah,
of
then
time.
if you're sending it to big super fund, normally they'll sit on it for 4 to 6 weeks before it gets to a case manager, which then they push it over to the insurance company then, who then assess it. So they may not actually touch it for 6 to 8 weeks
Yeah.
before they actually look at it. And then they might come back and say, you've missed this, we need extra doctors, or we need authority to go back to your doctor and ask a few
Yeah.
questions. And that process all takes time.
And they just, I'd imagine where the big bills keep creeping up for a TPD payout is that it takes a lot of time to follow up on all this stuff.
It does. Like the
Follow
first
up
one I had was,
phone calls, emails, and that's where the bills would be ticking because they're paid on a second basis. Every second they make money, it's like $500 a second.
Correct. Correct. So the back and forth and trying to
Yeah,
get to the client.
yeah,
So yeah, it's a big system, but
yeah. And
you know,
we're about, yeah, go ahead.
super funds can take up to 2.5 years to pay this out. That's what we had in the first case. We came
Yeah,
in
wow.
2.5 years in, and they still hadn't paid it out.
What made them pay it out?
We cracked a few heads together and made a bit of noise, made a few complaints, Lionel, and then things started moving pretty quick.
Yeah, wow.
Um,
Everyone's
and
they're all
yeah,
scared of the complaints
within 2
handling.
weeks, we had the money in their super account. So it's
That's
just
great.
amazing understanding the system, Lionel.
Yeah,
Like lots of the legal guys don't understand the system and the process like you and I do, who
yeah,
are in it, dealing with it every day. We've got BDMs, business development managers, state managers. We've got relationships at all these different levels, at super fund level, insurance level, that can help us and support our clients, right?
and that a lawyer doesn't have.
They don't have that access.
No,
They don't have that access, which makes us unique and
it's a bit
in
of
a
a
powerful
privilege.
position. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a bit of
absolutely.
a privileged position because you wouldn't know. It's our system, to be honest, that we know. To be honest, it's not a lawyer's area to be looking at. But
Yeah,
anyway, they're
yeah.
charging for it. So, what are the systemic failures that you see in the whole system at the moment? What are the common ways that people blow their TPD payouts?
One is taking financial advice from their lawyer. That's probably the first one. So
What are
lawyers
some
want to get paid.
examples?
Lawyers
Yeah.
want to get paid, Lionel. They've got this big fee and they want to get paid, and they put pressure on these vulnerable people with mental health concerns, right? So they're saying, we've got this 25 grand fee. We know your TPD's just been paid. Time's ticking. You've got 2 days to pay us. Otherwise, you're going to get penalties, interest charges on this big invoice. And they go, here's the form we've already filled out. We can rip all the money out of your super and put it in our trust account. We'll
Why would
pay
they do?
our fee first, Lionel, and then we'll transfer you the rest of the money into your account.
Why would they do that?
For a number of reasons. Lots of people with TPD have addictions, all this type of thing to try and settle down their head noise that they've got at the moment.
Yeah.
So the lawyers want to make sure they actually get paid first, right? So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons.
They're
But
pulling the money out of the super system as well, which is not like is the right way to do it. Because
correct,
I'd imagine they'd all be on disability support pension payments and all that sort of stuff. Like the disability support pension payment, the superannuation fund is the umbrella that hides that away from the assets test, isn't
correct, mate. That's one of our main strategies.
it?
Is until you reach pension age, try and hold as much of your capital inside super as you can,
Yeah.
because it shelters it from Centrelink effectively. But yeah, them doing that, also they've got to pay the tax straight away, right? So these vulnerable Australians may get taxed at up to 22%. You're accessing super early, you can get taxed at a maximum of 22%.
Yeah.
What super funds should be doing on TPD claims is doing a tax-free uplift. There's a formula, Lionel, between when you're TPD'd and when you retire, and they work out a calculation to try and reduce that 22% tax.
Okay.
But sometimes the super funds, A, don't apply it, or B, calculate it incorrectly, which we've had a number of times.
And that's a massive value add that you pick up on this scenario is like these are little things that you can pick up that can save people thousands.
If you're transferring that money to a lawyer, they don't pick that up. On
Yeah.
page 10 of their contract, they've got in small font, seek financial advice. Like,
Yeah.
not our problem type of thing.
Is that what it says?
Yep. So they sign off and say, yep, I've sought financial advice. And their next form they get them to sign is the transfer to their trust account.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
just the whole system taking advantage of these vulnerable Australians is is pretty poor, mate. But yeah, that's the
So,
main ones.
so is it necessary to have a lawyer involved with the TPD claim? Like
You don't need a lawyer. You don't need a financial planner. You can do it yourself.
Yeah, okay.
You
And
can do it
usually in
yourself.
this case, but it's good to have someone involved for you to help you out. Lawyers generally, like if it's a TPD payout, it's pretty clear cut, isn't it? Like if you're totally and permanently disabled,
You know.
you'd know pretty well
Well,
that,
you've got those two medical reports that say they're
yeah,
incapacitated, they'll never work again.
yeah. And that's is that from a specialist doctor or just a general GP?
You can have a GP and a specialist. It
Okay.
doesn't. Yep. You
So
just
it's
need two independent.
so it's better to have those done up front
As
or
soon as
done,
I see those documents, I know that there's a high probability that
yeah,
the TPD gets paid out, right?
yeah.
Uh,
And you mentioned something about the industry super funds. How do they make it harder? I thought they're for the people, man. These ones. They're
let's
for the
just say
people
they're
who are
not
just
for the
looking.
people. From what I've seen, they're not for the people.
Yeah.
Just the delays, mate. Like taking 2.5 years to pay a TPD claim, that's atrocious when you got people with debts piling up, rent overdue, um, phone bills getting phones getting cut off because they haven't paid their bill because they've got no money.
Yeah, wow.
There's no work coming in, so there's no income. And they thought they had these insurance policies to rely on, and these big super funds just take forever to pay them
Yeah,
out.
wow.
It's appalling. It's appalling that they can actually offer insurances when they don't have the systems and processes to pay them in a timely manner.
Yeah, I know you were working on a case previously to this and you were talking about how you were trying to get their attention and you went
Mm.
directly to
Yeah.
directly to the
Right.
so
Should we name and shame them or just mention?
nah, nah,
All
don't
right.
name and
So
shame.
there's a big super fund, and we made 8 complaints to them over their tax-free uplift that they didn't apply properly. So what we always do is get the calculation. We check the calculation to make sure they've done it right, and these guys had. But when we did the withdrawal or the rollover, they didn't apply it. So the client got charged 22% tax instead of 2% tax.
Oh wow. And they pay the tax inside the fund?
Yeah, when that gets paid out, so
Oh
that
wow.
they withhold more, right?
Yeah.
So big difference for this guy. He had $1 million. We're talking about 200 grand. So the mistake's
200
pretty big.
grand. That's
200 grand.
massive.
200 grand. So we picked up the mistake that they made 8 complaints. They were giving us the runaround. After 3 weeks, we're like, this isn't good enough. We thought about AFCA, which is our complaints body that we go to, Lionel, if
Yeah.
anything in financial services goes wrong. But generally, they've got a 90-day waiting period or response period. So that was too long for my client. So I jumped
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, went to the CEO of this super fund, went to the trustee of the super fund, went to the COO of the super fund, and it was all sorted within 2 hours of
Oh,
sending those messages on LinkedIn. So just going above and beyond and thinking outside the box than what most may, just to get the result for the clients, right? Because
yeah.
these guys are suffering and we need
Yeah.
to free up their headspace around the monetary side.
Well, their headspace is going to be pretty rough from the starting, you know what I mean? Like any sort of
Yeah.
help you can give them. And at the same time, someone that's got their best interests at heart, not about worrying about a fee, is probably where you should start with it. So, Matty, you mentioned something about the reforms. What is coming with these work reforms
Oh,
for
mate.
workers' comp?
Yeah.
And why are they actually doing these reforms and who are they actually helping?
It makes sense, right? So, workers' comp, it's a New South Wales government system.
Yeah,
It's there to help workers, right? They get injured, sick, whatever happens at work, it's there to compensate them. All well and good. Over the last few years, they've seen the increase in mental mental health claims go through the
yeah.
roof line. So instead of losing, what were they? They were almost breaking even about 5 or 10 years ago, and now they're losing 5 to 6 billion a year.
Workers' comp.
Yep. The whole
Yeah,
scheme
wow.
is costing New South Wales government 5 or 6 billion a year.
Ooh,
So they're looking to increase the threshold on making a claim for a mental health condition. So most of my clients sit between 19% incapacity to about 28, 29%, and they're
yeah.
making it 30 to 31% incapacitated. So anyone with a mental health condition will not be able to make a claim.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're wiping
Jeez.
them all out. That'll reduce the premiums. All the employers will be happy, and the government will be happy because they won't have a bigger deficit on their books from that side of things.
Do you reckon that's going to flow into TPD?
So I've already had chats with many of the industry leaders around TPD,
Yeah.
and there will be changes.
Oh, really? After that.
Now, in the next 6 to 12 months, there will be changes because they're seeing an increase in claims around mental health.
So they're putting in place insurance cover with the intention for them to potentially claim on this area, but then they're going to make it harder for them to claim one.
Correct.
Whose interest is it? Who's got their best interest here?
So the government doesn't want to pay, and insurance funds want to make money. Insurance companies want to make money. That's what they're there for. They're not
Wow.
there to help anyone. So if anyone is looking at getting insurance, TPD, and getting the current definition, I would
Get
recommend
in
you get it
soon.
in the next 6 months before
Yeah,
they change
wow.
the rules on us. Because they can't balance their books on the current definitions that TPD have at the moment.
And this is all stuff that's going through, like it's changed
It'll be
now.
happening. Yep.
When's this all implemented?
Uh, the workers' compensation one, I think it was proposed in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I think they only had a week consultation period,
Yeah,
and
wow.
then they're going to push it through. So that one's happening quick. The TPD one will be in the next 6 months. That'll be a bit longer.
That's stuff that they don't talk about in the headlines, is it?
Correct.
Yeah,
It's
well.
it's hard to articulate as well.
Yeah.
Um,
So, Matty, what have you done as your new status, Mr. TPD, done to help people with this? I know you've been talking to us about some sort of playbook, is it? What is it?
yeah, so we've set up a playbook to say this is exactly what you need to know when claiming a TPD claim or workers' comp. This is what happens. These are the things to consider. These are
Mm,
the traps to try and avoid, like the stuff we've been talking about, Lionel.
yeah,
Um, and this is the due diligence you can do on this side of things to make sure
yeah.
you tick all the boxes. So we've got that ready, available for free. So people reach out and we can
Why
send
did
that
you?
through.
Yeah, why did you build it?
Mainly to teach people. This knowledge isn't out there, Lionel. Like
Yeah,
I've been in the industry for 20 years, and people still don't understand the process or what happens here. So obviously, people can't afford all lawyers. They can't afford financial planners sometimes either. And just to build their knowledge and their base so they can then make an informed decision about
yeah.
which way they go, mate.
What are the first things that people should do after a payout? Not go to the
Seek,
pokies.
seek advice. Seek
Yeah,
advice. So my thing is seek advice, understand your budget, cash flow. Like, what do you
yeah,
need? Most of these people that are um, the claims that I've seen, mate, they're between 35 and 40 years old.
yeah,
So their work stopped, right? You and I have spoken so many times about retirees stopping
yeah.
at 60, 65, 70, and their identity changing, their purpose, their routine, their
Oh, yeah.
lifestyle, their fitness regime,
Same
all the
sort of thing.
same thing,
Yeah,
but probably on a higher level, higher scale, right? Because it's probably more important for these younger guys coming through.
yeah. And they got a longer time frame in that
Yep,
as well, technically as well.
correct. And lots of them don't own houses. They've either got large mortgages, they've had marriage breakdowns,
Yeah,
divorce,
wow.
child support.
Yeah,
So they've got lots of issues within their life, which means they're renting their whole life as well, Lionel.
yeah, wow.
So it just adds an extra complexity to the situation as well. So yeah, understanding your cash flow, what's coming in, what's going out. That's the first one.
Yeah,
Second one is getting really good health insurance. private health.
Yeah.
Cover your psychiatrist, psychologist.
Yeah.
We've got guys that have got addictions, whether it's speed, gambling, drugs, you
Yeah.
name it.
Wow. And
We've seen it all.
how do you sort of cope with that now? Like after dealing with it a few times, are you picking up on things that you notice with these type of clients type thing, or has it changed you personally?
Probably hasn't changed me personally, but it's opened up my eyes to what's happening out there in the real world. And also, uh, some people in this situation need someone to be direct and honest with them
Yeah.
because the people around them are trying to get money off them or, you know, stepping on eggshells. No one's being honest and real with them type of thing. So
That's
I
where
think
you jump in.
I think it has been lately. We've lost one or two clients because of it as well.
Yeah.
Some guys are spending 100 grand a month, Lionel,
On what?
because it's unsustainable. Like doing 3 or 4 8 balls of speed a week, like just to pick me up type of thing. You
Wow.
know,
Some heavy stuff.
dropping 5, 10 grand on pokies a day.
Oh, wow.
Like, because all these guys, they don't sleep with the amount of head noise and trauma they have. They're not sleeping at night. So
Yeah.
when they're up in the morning, they need that pick me up. And five or
Yeah.
six coffees aren't doing it. So they're going to the next level.
Yeah. Well, you can only do so much, but if you're what you do in the finance, just the same thing with
Correct.
retirees. When I talk about it, it's like the financial aspect of retirement is
One
10,
aspect.
10 to 15% of the overall component of retirement. The lifestyle piece is what they need to look after next. And what are
Correct.
you doing to help them after the financials? What comes next for your clients? What are you suggesting to them? Is there something? Because that's what a lawyer wouldn't do.
Correct. Correct. So we talk about it. We talk about, well, what's your purpose? Why are you getting up every day?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on in your life that excites you? Is it your kids that you see once a week? Is it motorbikes? Is it your boat? You know, lots of these guys have all the toys as well to go with it,
Yeah.
Lionel.
Well,
Um, so yeah, just speaking about what's important to them,
yeah.
breaking it down. What's important to you? What
Yeah.
legacy do you want to leave? What do you want to spend your time doing every day? Exactly the same conversations that we have with retirees, but it's a little bit more tricky with the mental
Oh,
space they're in.
it'd be a lot more sensitive, I'd imagine. Like
Correct.
and you'd see the relationships fall apart, heal through the process as well.
Yeah.
Like the money would be helpful, but I'd imagine if you asked all of them if you could give all the money back and not have any issues with you, I'd imagine they'd give it all back for sure.
Oh, 100%. If they didn't experience the
Yeah.
trauma or the event that they've been through,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And what role does money play in that mental recovery to help them?
It's
Is it a good
huge.
thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Depends how it's controlled.
correct. Correct. It can be a good thing because it opens up their choices, right? To
Yeah.
one of the clients with PTSD and trauma doesn't like too many people around them, so they've got a boat, and that's where they feel most free and the clearest
Yeah.
head when they go sailing, mate. So
Yeah.
that money provides that opportunity and that healing process, right?
Yeah.
Um, whereas the other guys with addiction, it kind of
Yeah.
feeds it
Feeds it.
feeds that, yeah,
Fuels the fire, eh?
it fuels it. And then
Yeah.
they're stuck with all these people in this circle, hangers on,
Bludgeon
borrowing
off them.
money
Yeah.
or bludgeon off them.
Yeah. Wow.
It reminds me of people that win the lotto or especially rugby league players when they come into a big contract, Lionel. You may have seen this
I
in
see
your,
this all the time. Yeah. The rugby league players, when they get into a big contract, they slacken off.
but
Like
also the hangers on around them and their family asking for
always
handouts.
grows. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
See.
they're left holding the bag with nothing at the end of the day, and they may get an
Mm.
injury or something, and the money stops,
Yeah.
and all these hangers on disappear, mate.
Yeah. Exactly
So
right.
we've seen it before, but yeah, from our side of things, it's just putting those guardrails in place to
Yeah.
make sure they are protected from the addiction side of things if they've got friends or family that they can help. transfer money into their account to manage,
yeah,
keeping them accountable when they're asking for requests to say,
yeah,
do we really need this? This has just reduced your capital longevity. Initially, we had this money lasting for 40 years. We're at 30 years, 20 years, 10 years.
that's a big thing, isn't it?
Does this matter to you that this money's about to run out? You're about to
Yeah,
blow it all.
yeah, exactly right.
So yeah,
And yeah, so but those reforms, mate, they're pretty serious. So what would if you had one chance to speak up about this because you've missed a TPD now, what would you say to the politicians signing off on this stuff?
I understand it, being a business owner and paying workers' comp premiums. Um, my side of things, probably from a politician, is why? Who are we doing it for? Are we doing it for the government's budget? Are we doing it for employers? Or are we doing it for the vulnerable Australians? Who are we doing
Mm,
it for? Why are these reforms being made?
yeah, that's and what another question I was going to ask is like, what do you want every TPD claimant or support person? What would your message be to everyone out there in the community now to know?
There's support there. You're not going it alone, and you're in control.
Yeah,
That's the big thing when going through this. They haven't been in control for a lot of these traumatic events and injuries and stuff, Lionel, and just letting them know they're in control, in their
yeah.
power, their control.
And imagine you could sort of tell people that it's more of a hand-holding process along the way, helping
100%,
them along the way, and
100%, mate.
explaining the complex areas of the whole financial aspect and also the TPD aspect as well. And because you've had 15 in this year alone,
Yeah,
you sort of earned the right for Mr. TPD. So,
yeah. It's not something we've promoted too much, probably up until now. But now we've got,
I think you should. You should start doing it more frequently, to be honest.
which is kind of where we started the TPD playbook, is to promote it, to say, yes, we've
Yeah,
got experience in this area. Yes, you can go it alone. Follow the playbook, follow the steps.
yeah.
Um,
And I guess that leads into my last question. What's next for Matt? Where are you going with this thing?
I think it's a pretty big space, Lionel. Like you and I have discussed men in retirement as well, how
Yeah,
especially men get depressed, get down, lose their identity. Men don't like talking to people.
yeah.
When they get medically retired early, same
Oh,
shit, Lionel. Same shit. So I kind of want to double down on this space, and I kind of want to hold lunches where a lot of my small business owners, my retiree clients, and also my TPD clients that have been medically retired early can all meet together and share ideas or go on. I've got a few guys that are retirees and medically retired early that love motorbikes, like joining them together and seeing them go out on rides and getting a routine together type of thing. And
yeah.
like, that's something that I want to try and, you
Sort
know,
of like a bit of a mini men's shed type thing. You know, those
yeah,
men's sheds?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Gentlemen's club. Are we allowed to
Yeah.
call it that anymore? The gentlemen's
Nah,
club?
I don't think so.
Call it a men's group then.
Be a
Men's
men's
group,
club.
men's lunch.
It'll be a men's health group.
Yeah. So, and we've got some footy players up here that we're going to get to speak at one of the lunches coming up as well.
How
So
good's that?
that'll be pretty
Was
cool.
so what's the idea of that? What are you gonna do with that event?
Just understanding their transition from footy into business as well,
Yeah,
and how they had success, and talking about their purpose, their why, and how they
yeah.
shifted and came through that and their process. Because I've heard them speak a couple of times now, and
Because
pretty powerful, mate. Pretty powerful.
a lot of footy players they get TPD'd as well, technically, isn't it? When they're getting paid out from their contracts because they're medically retired.
Yep,
Technically, what that is, yeah. So
correct.
that's
Yeah,
exciting, exciting times for you, mate.
it is, mate. It is. So just trying to help as many people as we can, and
Yeah,
try and build it out a little bit more, Lionel.
Well, Matt, I think we leave it there for this podcast. So hopefully a lot of people have taken away some information about TPD and how it works and where to look for the help if you need help with a TPD claim, Matty. So do you want to just shout out your details? So and if anyone wants to get in contact with you they can reach out to you how?
Yep. Jump on our website, newcastleadvisors.com.au. All our details are up there. Jump on Instagram, follow the podcast, and you'll see Lionel and my details there as well. And you can link through as well.
Yeah. So if you'd like this podcast, please make sure you share and subscribe it. We've got an Instagram page, a Facebook page, and we've got a YouTube page. If you want to watch it in person on YouTube, you can listen to it on Spotify or all your major podcasting platforms. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks, Lionel.
Cheers.